Man, I got to tell you, it's great to see each one of you here tonight. I appreciate you coming back to church this evening. Now, next Sunday is Palm Sunday, and the good Lord willing, next Sunday morning I plan on preaching on Psalm 51, and next Sunday night plan on preaching on Psalm 52. And I mention that because next Sunday night we plan on having the Lord's Supper. It's always a special time for the church, and so next Sunday night we're going to do it. I just thought of a story. I hadn't planned on telling, but I got saved. And when I was 15 years old and just started going to church, I spilled your pens, Brother Carl. My apologies. But one of the first things I did that summer, so this is like in March, I started going to church and got saved. And that summer, I taught Vacation Bible School. And I know it's crazy. I'd only been saved a few months. I didn't know nothing. But they asked me to teach Vacation Bible School. And now I know why after all these years. It was middle school boys. And I realized nobody wants middle school boys. I mean, we love middle school boys. Don't misunderstand me. We love them, but we hate them. You know what I'm saying? And so I thought of it because I remember it was way back when. I'm like 15. I am 15 when I'm doing this, and I'm trying to get these boys' attention. And I had a lectern like this, but it was wood, just an old wooden lectern. And so the first time I ever taught, now I'd preached a couple times, so the first time I ever really taught a lesson, Vacation Bible School, Miss Shelley, you'll appreciate this. I was trying to get these middle school boys' attention, and I hit the pulpit. I cracked it in two. And I'm thinking, I don't know where my strength's gone because I couldn't crack it in two now if I tried. But I was so trying to get those boys' attention that evidently I hit that pulpit so hard that I just busted in two, just like, black belt karate would try to do. And I say that to say that's sort of the attitude that we're going to find that this psalmist has. We're in Psalm chapter number 49, and I want you to understand this psalmist, he's whatever he's doing. He's clapping his hands. He's snapping his fingers. He's hitting the pulpit. Now, I don't want to stomp. Remember last time I stomped? Lights went out. All right, we're good. That would have been funny, wouldn't it? That would have been something. You're going to see just right off the bat that this psalmist, he's trying to get everybody's attention. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Psalm 49. Hear this, all peoples. Give ear, all inhabitants of the world, both low and high, rich and poor together. My mouth shall speak wisdom, and the meditation of my heart shall give understanding. I will incline mine ear to a proverb. I will disclose my dark saying on the harp. So the psalmist obviously has something that's really on his mind, really on his heart. And he said, listen, I want you to sit up straight. I want you to sit up straight. I want you to focus. I want you to stop talking to your neighbor. Don't pass notes. Don't get on your phone. Don't be chewing gum. He said, I want you to say, hey, turn your hearing aids all the way up. Get ready to listen to what I'm fixing to say. So evidently what this psalmist is about to say was something extremely important. And so he starts off saying, hey, I got something to tell you. I got something. I want you to hear me. I want you to listen. I want all you people to really pay attention to what I'm fixing to say. And I believe as we get into it and as we study Psalm 49, I believe that who he's really addressing here and what he's really talking about is he's addressing the people that are prideful. He's addressing people that are arrogant. He's addressing people that are sort of too big for their britches, and the main reason they're arrogant and prideful and too big for their britches and haughty and all those words is because of their wealth. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. There are 3 points tonight. One is, I know what they're thinking. The psalmist is writing, and as he's writing, I believe that that's one of the thoughts that on his mind, he's thinking, hey, I know what they're thinking. Show you what I'm talking about. Look at verse 5. Why should I fear in the days of evil, when the iniquity at my heels surrounds me? Those who trust in their wealth and boast in the multitude of their riches. In other words, he knows what they're thinking. These rich people are thinking, hey, these evil days, these days of iniquity, this hardship, these hard times that may come in life, hey, I'm not afraid of nothing because I got money. I got money. I got wealth. I'm rich. Let life happen to me. Ain't nothing going to bother me. Ain't nothing going to whoop me. Ain't nothing going to get me down because I'm top dog. I got money. See, he knows what they're thinking. Look in verse number 11. See, their inner thought is that their houses will last forever. Their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. How many of you ever been to Kitchens Manor? I'm telling you what, on top of 3516 Sharon Lane. They because of their wealth, they thought that they had created these little empires for themselves. You know, they had land, and they maybe had a herd of sheep, and they had servants, and probably maybe even had some slaves, and they probably had these little gates at the beginning of their property, and they had the name up there. They had chiseled away their name on a piece of wood or maybe on a big stone. And they thought that their land, that they were so wealthy and they were so powerful, that their land and their wealth was going to endure forever. There are a lot of people that are absolutely full of themselves because they have more money than most. And if it's not money, there are people that are full of themselves maybe because they are or were the best athlete in high school. They were, big man on campus. Or maybe they are, or at one time they were like a beauty queen at the university, or maybe they have a child and their child has won some beauty contest. Maybe it's simply because it's not maybe because they think they're so strong or so rich. Maybe it's simply because, and we face this a lot, it's just simply because they're Americans. There are a lot of Americans that think they're superior. There are a lot of Americans, I guarantee you know them, I know them. There are a lot of Americans that think just because they were born in the good old US of A, that they're better than someone that was born in Kenya. Or they're better than someone that was born in Russia. Or they're better than someone that was born in Canada. Or they're better than someone that was, hey, you ain't better just because you were born in America. That don't make you better. It doesn't make you superior. It doesn't make someone else of less value just because they would. Now, we believe it's nothing, no knock on our country. We love our country. We feel that our country is the greatest country in the world. We love our country. We're proud of our country. But we're not better just because we're Americans. But there are a whole heap of people that because they're just Americans, or because they are pretty, or because they are strong, because they are athletic, because they have a really nice home, they have land, they believe that they're better. And God knows exactly what people are thinking. He knows that many people who are talented and educated and strong and beautiful or rich, they think that they don't need God. And not only this, you've seen this in life. The people that are like that, sometimes we call them elitist. You know what I'm talking about. Sometimes people that are elitist, they think that, not only do they think that they don't need God, but you're going to know what I'm saying. They think that rules don't apply to them. Y'all know some people like that? They think the rules in the workplace, well, I mean, that don't apply to me. I mean, the school rules don't, you know some kids, the school rules don't apply to them. They're the quarterback of the football team. They don't apply to them. They ain't got to wait in line at the cafeteria. They can go to the front of the line at the cafeteria. They ain't got to worry about being tardy like the other kids. They're the captain of the football team. They can come and go to school whenever they want because, they're not going to get suspended. They're the captain of the football team. Or they're the most pretty girl on whatever it may be. There are people that think that rules don't apply to them because they're so special. And that includes God's rules. And so the psalmist here is writing, and I think what he's thinking and what he's trying to get across, and hey, I know what they're thinking. I know exactly what they're thinking. Point number 2, I know what they're hearing. I know what they are hearing. Look at verse number 18. Though while he lives, he blesses himself, and that word for or because men will praise you when you do well for yourself. The psalmist, I think, is saying that I know what they're hearing. Though while he lives, he begins to bless himself. Individuals that are rich or educated or beautiful or powerful or strong. People that think that they're elitist, they begin to bless themselves because men begin to praise them. Wow. Wrote down a couple. Wow. Look at your house. You sure are lucky. Man, I wish I was as strong as you. Man, you look like a model. I don't know how someone could be as smart as you are. Man, you are over the top talented. I've heard all these things. I ain't heard none of these things. I wish I could trade lives with you just for one day. Boy, it sure must be nice to be you. And there are those that are considered more beautiful or rich or powerful or the most popular. They hear that hype all their lives. And there are a lot of teenagers that are absolutely brats. I mean, they are pathetic brats because their moms and their dads and whoever have told them since they were born that they were perfect. I mean, hey, we all love kids, and we should build kids up, and we should encourage kids. But ain't no child perfect. And if they do bad on a test and they could have done better, the parents need to tell them that. And if they're a brat, they need their butt whooped. And if they disrespect, they need to be in trouble. They don't need just to be lifted up and 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 lifted up until they are absolutely spoiled rotten. And not just kids as they grow up, but there are other people. There are certain places. I don't know. I can't speak for whoever. You think the starting quarterback at Alabama, you think he's going to be, suspended from the team because he was late for one class? I don't know. Maybe he would, but I doubt it. There are people that for a variety of reasons, they hear day in and day out how special they are, how wonderful they are, how important they are, how awesome they are. And it begins to go to their head. Let me read you something. It's our culture. I want to read you an opening paragraph. And this is from a 2017 article on CNN. This is not from a religious perspective. This is not from a Bible scholar. This is from CNN. For years, scientific studies have proven that human beings respond more positively to beautiful people. We like, trust, and value them more. Good-looking people, we've been told time and again, get better jobs, receive higher pay, and have an easier time in life. Evolutionarily speaking, pretty people win. That's how our society is. And the psalmist said, hey, I know what you've been hearing, man. I know all your life. You've been hearing people bless you. You've been hearing people say, man, it must be nice to have that money. Wow. Man, how blessed you are and how wonderful you are. Man, you can bench press 400 pounds. Oh my goodness, man. You truly are like Samson. Oh my goodness, man. I tell you what, you got to send your picture into somebody because you are a model. Man, if anybody's ever had looks of a model, man, it is you, man. You're so beautiful. And the psalmist is saying that people have been blessed and bragged on, and they've gotten all this hype, that eventually what happens is they begin to bless themselves. Instead of other people blessing them, they begin to bless themselves. As Psalms 49:18 says, they begin to bless themselves. And because of what they are hearing from others, they become full of themselves. And guess what? If you become full of yourself, then you ain't got no room for who? God. And perhaps that's why Jesus said in Matthew 19 Then Jesus said to his disciples, assuredly I say to you that it is hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. And again I say to you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. So this psalmist, as he's addressing these people, he's like, hey, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking because I know what you've been hearing. I know what people have been telling you. People have been telling you all your life that you're special, that you're wonderful, that you're awesome, that you're the cream of the crop, that you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. I know what you've been hearing, and now you're buying into it. Now you're thinking you're perfect. You have no flaws. You can make no mistakes. Everybody should bow down to you. Everyone should get out of your way. Everyone should listen to your opinion. And your opinion and only your opinion is the one that matters. But that takes us to point 3. I know where they are going. The psalmist, in thinking about these people that are buying into this idea that they're so wonderful that they don't need God, the psalmist has this third thought. I know where they are going. Look at verse 7. None of them can by any means redeem his brother, nor give to God a ransom for him, for the redemption of their souls is costly. And it shall cease forever that he should continue to live eternally and not see the pit. In other words, he's not going to live eternally, and he is going to see the pit because the redemption of their souls is so costly that they can't pay that price. Money and fame and beauty and power cannot redeem the soul. And those who trust in those things will not live forever, but they are absolutely headed to the pit. Verse 10. For he sees wise men die. Likewise, the fool and the senseless person perish and leave their wealth to others. All the wealth that the rich accumulate will someday be the property of someone else. Look at verse 12. Nevertheless, man, though in honor, does not remain. He is like the beasts that perish. This is the way of those who are foolish, and of their posterity who approve their sayings. Selah. Like sheep, they are laid in the grave. Death shall feed on them. The upright shall have dominion over them in the morning, and their beauty shall be consumed in the grave, far from their dwelling. Ain't no one pretty in hell. Ain't no one rich in eternity with the devil. There is no fame in the death for the lost. Those that are separated from God for all time and eternity, they are no longer in the limelight. No one is thinking that they are special. No one is honoring them or patting them on the back. It just ain't going to happen. Their honor will perish and their beauty will be gone. Verse 16. Do not be afraid when one becomes rich, when the glory of his house is increased. For when he dies, he shall carry nothing away. His glory shall not descend after him. It's like this, hey, don't be envious of nobody. Because whether you got $1 or $1 million, when you die, you're taking the same amount with you. Not a thing. Don't be envious of the rich. Verse 19. He shall go to the generation of his fathers. They shall never see light. They are headed to the eternal darkness of the pit. A person who has no room in their heart and life for God. A person who has no room in their heart and life for God. God makes no room for them in his kingdom. The psalmist is writing this and he says, listen, I get it. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. I know you're arrogant. I know your pride. I know what you're thinking. I know you're thinking you don't need God. I know why you're thinking it. You're thinking it because that's all you hear. You've been bragged on and you've been hyped all this stuff in your life. I know why you're thinking it, but I'm telling you, I know where you're going. And so then we come to verse number 20. A man who is in honor, yet does not understand, is like the beast that perishes. And this is important. A man who is in honor, yet does not understand, is like the beast that perishes. Nothing wrong with being in honor. Like this verse, this is an important verse to get. A man who is in honor, yet does not understand, is like, in other words, there's nothing wrong with being in honor. There's nothing wrong with being the star athlete on a softball team. There's nothing wrong with being this great, tremendous volleyball player. There's nothing wrong with being the strongest man in the room that can bench 450 pounds. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being the most beautiful woman in church or the most beautiful woman on a campus college. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being the richest person in your family. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having a beautiful house and a fancy car. There's nothing wrong with being able to take European vacations. There's nothing wrong with being wealthy. Nothing wrong with being powerful. There's nothing wrong with being beautiful, being strong. We get that. There's nothing wrong with all of that. There's nothing wrong with having letters beyond your name because you've been in college for 20 years. All that's great. There's nothing wrong with having things in your life that bring you honor. That's not the problem. A man who is in honor, yet does not understand. We have to understand that no matter what we've achieved, we are still sinful people. We are still in need of Almighty God. We are still headed for the pit without God. We have to understand that none of those things that we can do, our personality, our prosperity, none of that can redeem our soul. As we were told back in verse number 8, for the redemption of their soul, it's a costly thing. The redemption of the soul, it's costly. It costs the precious blood of Jesus Christ. It's a costly thing. It's far more costly than anything you or I could ever pay. The arrogant and prideful people that the psalmist was talking about, they didn't understand that. But I simply close by telling you this. The psalmist, on the other hand, the psalmist himself, as he was writing this, the psalmist understood it. Because the psalmist said in verse number 15, but God will redeem my soul. God will redeem my soul from the power of the grave, for he shall receive me. And for by grace you have been saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God.